आयरलैंड भारत से हजारों मील दूर यूरोप के पश्चिमी किनारे पर बसा हुआ एक छोटा सा द्वीप है जो एक तरफ अटलांटिक महासागर और दूसरी तरफ आयरिश सागर से घिरा हुआ है। आयरलैंड का इतिहास बहुत ही पुराना है और यहाँ पर न्यू ग्रेंज के पुरातत्व स्थल पर 5,000 साल पुराने नियोलिथिक समय के शिलालेख और खंडहर मिलते हैं, जिनमें रहने वाले लोगों के बारे में कहा जाता है कि वो सूर्य के उपासक थे। देवताओं और धार्मिक चिन्हों के अलावा मृतकों के स्मारक भी यहाँ पर मिलते हैं। इनके एक प्राचीन देवता लुग थे जिनकी तुलना इंद्र के साथ की जाती है। भारत और आयरलैंड के संबंध बहुत पुराने हैं। आयरलैंड ने भी भारत की तरह ही उपनिवेशवाद और विभाजन दोनों की विभीषिका को सहा है। आयरलैंड के स्वतंत्रता आंदोलन में एक भारतीय नवयुवक जो यूनिवर्सिटी कॉलेज डबलिन का छात्र होता था, उसने भाग लिया था और यह नवयुवक भारत का चौथा राष्ट्रपति श्री वराह वेंकट गिरी के नाम से जाना गया। इसी प्रकार भारत के स्वतंत्रता आंदोलन में श्रीमती इनी बेसेंट, जो कि एक आयरिश महिला थी, उन्होंने बहुत बढ़ चढ़कर हिस्सा लिया था और होम रूल लीग की स्थापना की थी, जिसे बाद में कांग्रेस में विलय कर दिया गया था। स्वामी विवेकानंद की एक बड़ी प्रसिद्ध शिष्या सिस्टर निवेदिता भी आयरिश मूल की थी। हमारी राजधानी दिल्ली में नीति मार्ग के पास एक सड़क का नाम इमन डी वेलेरा मार्ग रखा गया है। इमन डी वेलेरा आयरिश स्वतंत्रता आंदोलन के नायक थे और बाद में वो यहाँ के ठीशक या प्रधानमंत्री और उसके बाद राष्ट्रपति भी बने। 1936 में जब नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस यूरोप की यात्रा पर आए थे, तो उन्होंने इमन डी वेलेरा से मुलाकात की थी और भारत और आयरलैंड के संबंधों के विषय में चर्चा की थी। 50 लाख की आबादी वाला एक छोटा सा देश साहित्य का सुपर पावर माना जाता है। आयरलैंड में अंग्रेजी के महानतम कवियों ने, रचनाकारों ने, नाटककारों ने जन्म लिया। आयरलैंड में एक लिटरेरी रेनेसा का भी समय आया, जिसको आयरलैंड की स्वतंत्रता आंदोलन के साथ जोड़कर देखा जाता है और जिसके नायक विलियम बटलर येट्स, जॉन मिलिंगटन सिंज जैसे महान रचनाकार थे। इनके अतिरिक्त जॉर्ज बर्नार्ड शॉ, ऑस्कर वाइल्ड, सैमुअल बैकेट, जेम्स जॉयस, सेमस हीनी जैसे महानतम रचनाकारों ने इस धरती पर जन्म लिया है। जेम्स जॉयस की यूलिसीज को अंग्रेजी का महानतम रचना कहा जाता है और यही कारण है कि लिफी नदी के तट पर बसा हुआ राजधानी डबलिन शहर शब्दों का शहर भी कहा जाता है। आयरलैंड भारत के पुराने संबंधों में एक संबंध साहित्य का भी है। गुरुदेव रविन्द्रनाथ टैगोर के सबसे बड़े प्रशंसक आयरलैंड के कवि विलियम बटलर येट्स हुआ करते थे। उन्होंने स्वयं गीतांजलि की प्रस्तावना लिखी है और इन दोनों के जो साहित्यिक संबंध थे उनको ध्यान में रखते हुए और उन्हें अविस्मरणीय बनाने के लिए येट्स के शहर स्लाइगो में उनकी प्रतिमा के समकक्ष गुरुदेव की भी एक प्रतिमा लगाई गई है। गुरुदेव की एक प्रतिमा डबलिन में भी है। मैं अभिषेक त्रिपाठी विश्वरंग आयरलैंड के इस विशिष्ट कार्यक्रम में आपका स्वागत करता हूं। आप सभी को यह जानकर आश्चर्य होगा कि भारत से हजारों मील दूर सुदूर आयरलैंड की धरती पर हमारे वेदों पुराणों की प्राचीन भाषा संस्कृत का प्रचार प्रसार बहुत समय से निर्बाध रूप से चल रहा है। आज का यह कार्यक्रम आयरलैंड की इस धरती पर संस्कृत का प्रचार प्रसार करने वाले एक अति विशिष्ट व्यक्तित्व के साथ वार्तालाप है। आज जहां संस्कृत का अध्ययन और अध्यापन भारत के भीतर भी बहुत कम होता जा रहा है, वहां पर आज के हमारे जो अतिथि हैं, इन्होंने आयरलैंड में उन बच्चों को जिनकी मातृभाषा आयरिश या अंग्रेजी है, उनको संस्कृत की शिक्षा देने का बीड़ा उठाया है। आप 1986 से जॉन स्कॉटस स्कूल डबलिन में बच्चों को संस्कृत सिखा रहे हैं और यह सही मायने में संस्कृत की भारत की असली सेवा है। हर्ष का विषय यह है कि उनको इस कार्य के लिए विश्व में अनेकों पुरस्कार मिले हैं। इसी साल मार्च में भारत सरकार ने उन्हें पद्म श्री से सम्मानित किया है। उन्हें आईसीसीआर का एक विशिष्ट पुरस्कार इसके पहले मिल चुका है। तो अब मैं अपने अतिथि का स्वागत कर रहा हूं, श्री रुटकर जी, जो आज हमारे साथ डबलिन से जुड़े हुए हैं। रुटकर जी, आपका स्वागत है। रुटकर, यू आर वेलकम। रुटकर जी हिंदी नहीं बोल सकते, वो संस्कृत में ही बात करते हैं या अंग्रेजी में बात करते हैं, तो इसलिए आज के इस सत्र का भाषा अंग्रेजी ही होगी और इसके लिए मैं हिंदी भाषियों से क्षमा चाहता हूं। रुटकर, यू आर मोस्ट वेलकम ऑन आवर प्रोग्राम।
थैंक यू, धन्यवाद। नमो नमः।
Rutger, it is so, how do I say, it's so pleasing to see that in Ireland, you are able to, for the last 45 years, you are able to teach children Sanskrit and you are able to carry the traditional, cultural Indian heritage and sow the seeds of it here in Ireland. I really commend you for that. And my first question to you would be, where did the inspiration come from?
Yeah.
How did you learn Sanskrit yourself?
Yes, that's of course a logical question to ask. So in the 1980s, I got interested in philosophy because I had many questions. And, you know, who am I? Where am I going? What is all this about? What's my relation to this universe? All those questions. And so I came across the School of Philosophy and Economic Science in Dublin. So I started attending courses there, and it turned out that they are actually teaching Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta philosophy. So from that, so that was my starting point. And then I also noticed there was somebody there who could teach me Vedic mathematics. So I saw the first time I saw some Devanagari script there, and I thought, what is this? You know, and so I asked, can I learn this here? Yes, we have a Sanskrit department, so you can learn here. So I started learning the alphabet, and that was the introduction. And then this is for adult education. So this is for people who, after their job, they go to night courses in philosophy. And it had quite a big influence on my life. So the founder is Leon McLaren, and he's following Sri Shantananda Saraswati from North India. And so he gave advice. So any questions he had, every 2 years, he would go to India, ask questions and get answers, and then come back and we would study that together. Now that was all conducted in Hindi and translated into English by a translator, because we don't know any Hindi. So, and then of course it became obvious from that Shankaracharya that in order to know Vedanta philosophy, well, there were two things he recommended for us to do. One is meditation. So each morning and evening we meditate for half an hour. And the other one is to learn Sanskrit. So after a few years of this, a lot of adults there who had children said, we would like our children to go to a school, a day school, where they can learn what we're learning at night. So that's how, from the School of Philosophy, the day schools were founded. And there are another 6 around the world, but this is the one in Dublin. So it was started in London, and St. James School is the sort of the founding school there, and for children. And then here we started in 1986 with John Scottus School. So I very soon became full-time in that school. Like, we started literally with 12 students, and now there are a few hundred students there.
Wow.
So that's how that developed. So then I was always, I was taught by English people usually, because they had more Sanskrit than we had. And we went through grammar mostly, Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi, Panini, that sort of work we did. We didn't know any other Sanskrit. We learned of sutras and all that sort of, but we couldn't speak Sanskrit, nothing like that. So in 2005, I asked for these English tutors, can you recommend somewhere in India to go where they actually speak the language? Because I'm a Sanskrit teacher, I should be able to speak the language. So he recommended a little village in Karnataka, so where I should go. So immediately myself and a friend went there for Christmas, and we spent 2 weeks there. And then we were introduced to a Gurukula near Bangalore called Veda Vijnana Gurukula. So I immediately knew this is also following the Shankara tradition. So I would love to follow this. I would go to this Gurukula again if I could. So I asked, could I stay there for the summer? In Ireland, we have 3 months off, June, July, and August as teachers. So that's a lot of time to go and study your subject. So then I came to India. So since 2006, I've been going to India each summer, except for when we had lockdowns. We couldn't go, of course. So then the Veda Vijnana Gurukula really seemed to be fantastic for me, because I could learn how to chant, how to speak Sanskrit, ask grammatical questions, try and translate Upanishads directly, any work like that. And then I found a teacher in Pondicherry who has a novel method for teaching Sanskrit to children. He is from the Sri Aurobindo Ashram, and he has developed a method which is not so intellectual, but it covers the Sanskrit deeply. And so that's been really helpful. And so from then on, I've been going, to that teacher in Pondicherry, and to the Gurukula most of the time. I teach English there to the students, and they teach me Sanskrit, chanting. Wow. So that's sort of a quick journey. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And this is a really good exchange between you and your Indian gurus, or language exchange. So that's really wonderful. I wanted to get into that you are from Netherlands, and you came to, so you probably speak many languages. How many languages do you speak, and how do you find that helps you?
Yes, it does help, because you have a better understanding of other languages. When you're Dutch, you have to learn other languages, because very few people speak Dutch. So I had to learn French, German, English, a little bit of Irish, and of course Sanskrit. So when you learn more languages, that's really helpful, because they are all connected through grammar. Grammar is a universal thing. And the Sanskrit grammar is like the grammar of all grammars. You know, it's like the most amazing mind-blowing piece of work of grammar that I've ever come across. So that's my, you know, so much respect for Patanjali for having done that. And I think because of that, the language has hardly ever much changed. It's stayed intact. Most languages are very badly built, so they are also destroyed quickly. Whereas with Sanskrit, it's so well constructed that it will stand up against any storm of time. You know, it'll always survive because it's so well constructed. So, yeah.
I completely agree with you. And I've been told that the Ashtadhyayi from Panini,
yes,
is also a great source of grammar, and it's a really scientific language. And you know that there's so many, so many languages. Do you actually think that Sanskrit grammar is really scientific?
Yes, exactly. So it just makes it very possible then to get access to all the other languages. It has sort of all the bells and whistles of all grammar, and then all the other languages have a little bit of that inside of them, but they are not complete. So that's what you notice. That's, say, there's a complete system of grammar in Patanjali, and then in the other languages they have borrowed a little bit here and there, and they have, for example, in Dutch you don't have masculine and feminine. You just have neuter words and no neuter words. So in French, you have masculine and feminine. In German, you have all three. In English, you don't really consider gender. It's not in the language, built into the language so much. So, you know, every language has its own particulars, you know, its particular interesting grammar. And but when you go back to Sanskrit, you realize, okay, it is the sort of the perfect language. And the other languages borrow a little bit from it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. That brings me to the next question. And I learned somewhere that the Irish language is actually a mixture of ancient Greek, Latin, and Sanskrit. Do you subscribe to that view, or do you see similarities between the Sanskrit and the Irish language?
Yeah, I've not studied it in depth, and I don't know a lot of Irish, but I do know Professor Mitchell has written a book about this connection, the etymology between Sanskrit and Irish, and he could see the connection clearly in that book. And he doesn't mention much Greek or Latin, although that was he was a scholar in those two areas as well. But it's mostly Sanskrit, a direct connection between Sanskrit and Irish. And so I hope somebody who knows more Irish than I do will study that at some stage, because that would be a really interesting connection to make.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And it would be wonderful to know how did Sanskrit travel all the way to Ireland? It'll be wonderful to know.
Yes. You do wonder, don't you?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Rutger, it will be a good time for us to listen to some of the recitation of slokas and some of your favorite slokas. It'll be wonderful if we could get some of that.
Yes. So just to explain, I'm going to share the screen as well, but just to explain that in our classes in John Scottus, we start the classes, we dedicate them to the Paramatman. Okay. And so we usually bring the children to rest so that there's some peace and quiet. And then we chant Om Paramatmane Namaha. And then Atta at the beginning of the class, and Iti at the end of the class. And so the children just repeat that, and we explain what that really means. Their inner self, the supreme self is within all of us.
Yes.
So that's dedicated to that, and not dedicated to something less. For example, the ego or something like that. It's dedicated to the highest self. So that is very significant. And the Sanskrit language has this flexibility also, where you don't even have to believe in God. You can just believe in yourself. And that would be, well, you know, for those people who are religious, it's very easy to connect like that with the Paramatman. But people who are not, and that is in our society, there are a lot of people now who say they don't believe in anything, but you can't say you don't believe in yourself.
Exactly.
So I think it's a wonderful thing. So I'll just chant this is to produce a good relationship between the teacher and the students. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So as it's saying there, may that protect us both. May that nourish us both. May we show courage together. May our study be illuminating. May we never hate one another. So this is all between the teacher and the student. Om, peace, peace, peace. And you can see a feature of what we have done a lot in this course is color-coded everything. So that's a word that is green there, abatu, is may protect. So you can match the colors, and then us both is now, and that's there now, and that's here. You see it also now. So the words are easily distinguished like that, because in Sanskrit the words are all strung together. So it's hard to know where one word begins and the next ends, etc. So just to help with that, we've done a lot of color coding of texts, and the children and the adults also find it very useful.
Very good.
So yeah. So that's just to give you a little bit of background there. I mean, I could chant you anything else, or I can just show you what we do in the classroom. Would you like to see?
That'd be wonderful. And thanks a lot. I remember we used to chant this just before food.
Yes. Right. Yeah. I know they do that. I don't quite know why that's like, there are other prayers that would be more appropriate for food, for meal times. But I know it is done in India. But it's always good to remember this. But it's particularly useful for the relationship between the teacher and the student. Yes.
Maybe one or two more slokas, and then we'll get to other questions.
Yes. So at the moment, we're looking at the adults and the children are looking at the perfect prayer. Purnamada Purnamidam. So I just chant it and I'll show you. And because it's Mathematics Week, we have replaced
Om Purnamadav.
So I also have people chanting for me, but it's better if you let me, I'll do it this time. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So in this case, because we happen to have Mathematics Week, we're saying that is infinite. This is infinite. Infinity comes from the infinite. Take infinity from infinity. The remainder is infinity. Om, peace, peace, peace. So in this case, that has been really interesting, and the students want to discuss this with us, and I've had very interesting conversations with them about it. So that's the perfect prayer, which is also, of course, at the beginning of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and the Isha Upanishad. So these Shanti mantras are very, very beautiful.
Yes. They're very calming and relaxing as well when you
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I teach there are children who are only 4 years old. They're already learning this, and then we go right up to 12-year-olds. In John Scottus, in the primary school, we teach Sanskrit, and in the secondary school we do use these in assembly, but they don't really do much else in Sanskrit. They have a well-being course, but they don't actually study. Unfortunately, we don't have Sanskrit in the secondary school yet. So maybe in the future.
Yeah, of course, we'll.
I just showed, okay, that's just one thing I wanted to show you. So it's always so versatile as well, Sanskrit, that you can share, you know, such amazing materials, and they're so apt, like Mathematics Week, and you can use this prayer.
Yes, yeah.
So here we have Mata Bhumi Putro Aham Prithivyah. So Earth is mother, I'm the son of the world, from the Atharva Veda. So this is again showing you the universality of Sanskrit. So we teach small sentences like that to show us, you know, first of all, it's make them more aware of to look after Mother Earth, and that we are the sons and daughters of the world is significant. You know, it's a beautiful statement, I think, and children really understand it.
They can relate with it as well, I would say.
Yes. Yes, yeah. So if you look in other texts from other cultures, there's very little of this sort of information available. Sanskrit is full of it. It's really the language of wisdom,
Yes,
and practical wisdom.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
So
and it's probably that, you know, it is probably that language where other languages have come from. So it is probably that mother language, and the sutras like that kind of reflect that, you know.
Yes.
It talks about the whole humanity. It doesn't talk about just, you know, one place or one group of
exactly.
people.
Yeah. Even the word Sanskrit, of course, means, you know, it's made perfectly, made whole. Other languages tell you where they were made. So English comes from England, or, you know, the German comes from Germany, Chinese from China. It always tells you the place. But when the word Sanskrit doesn't tell you a location. It just tells you that it's made perfectly. So it has nothing, it is already universal in its very name. The word Sanskrit, you can't say, oh yeah, that's an Indian place, because it's not. It's just a universal place. Yeah.
Wonderful. Rutger, really great insights from you. Just want to ask you one more thing is, in addition to Sanskrit, you are also teaching health benefits of Ayurveda and yoga to the youth and teenagers in Ireland. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I would like to talk a little bit about that. Yes. So having studied so much of the philosophies of India, then we started looking into the Patanjali's Yoga Sutrani. And what we discovered is, of course, again, great wisdom, very practical, especially for well-being and for mental well-being. So, you know, how do you calm down your mind? Really, the Yoga Sutras are telling you that from beginning to end. And if you have a calm mind, you can concentrate, you are happy, you know, contentment is there. So you can get on with life. Without a calm mind, a disturbed mind isn't a peaceful mind, and it's not a happy mind.
Exactly.
So learning to train the mind simply to be calm and peaceful is a real service to humanity. And I think Patanjali Yoga Sutras do that. So that's on the mental well-being side. And the Department of Education in Ireland asked teachers, could we teach well-being to children? So in John Scottus School, we decided, I offered this to the headmaster and said, why don't we run a course in physical and mental well-being based on Patanjali Yoga Sutrani and on Ayurveda for physical well-being. So he was interested, and he said, can you put something together? So I'll just share you we have a website for it. I'll just bring that up now. Moment. Share screen. Now, do you see anything there?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So this is this is the website that was developed in order to help with this. So you can see this is a later edition, the Shastras, the scriptures of India. I'm building this up as I go along. But here Ayurveda gives levels of it for children so that they can, for example, how do you prepare yourself in the morning routines, how, you know, what practices are there? And Ayurveda gives a lot of good suggestions there. Then here there's yoga, the basics of yoga, the first, second, and third level of yoga, and a glossary. Again, based on mostly yoga and also Bhagavad Gita. So we teach them the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, things like that, because they immediately relate that to their, you know, how is my body in sattva, rajas, or tamas? How is my mind in sattva, rajas, and tamas? Or how are my emotions, sattvika, rajasika, or tamasika? So they really find that it's a very, makes conversation at this level very, very useful. So you might see there, so these are all suggestions for them in what to do. So you have the Ashtanga yoga explained, the yama and the niyama stages explained in a simple way so that they can relate to this in a very simple way. And the same, for example, with the doshas in Ayurveda. We have an Ayurvedic doctor here in Dublin who has helped me to put this course together. So he's, said things like Vata energy is like a monkey energy, playful, enthusiastic, and full of movement, but in turn fearful and running away and leaving tasks undone. That gives you a concept of what is a Vata personality like. Or a pitta, like a tiger energy, majestic in control, looking good, playing hard, but can get angry and fierce. So it gives you an insight into, these doshas, for example. And then kapha energy has stability and strength like an elephant with a great memory. It can hold the family together, but can be stubborn and in denial of the facts. So it's very helpful for children to see this playing itself out in their personalities. So I find all these things so helpful, and the children really have taken to this course. And so we do it in first and second year, and it's actually an exam subject for the junior certificate. So they then do an interview at the end of this, not a written exam, but an interview with teachers that I have found around Dublin. They come and they interview them, and then the children tell them what they have learned in their 2 years of well-being in John Scottus, and it appears as an exam subject on their junior certificate. So it has a sort of a final stage to it like that, which I like, I must say.
That is extraordinary. That is wonderful. And I also know that you are also an expert on Vedic mathematics.
Yes, yeah. We started teaching Vedic mathematics in John Scottus. We want to do everything, according to traditional things from India, like that, Vedic mathematics. And we did, well, it was tricky because there were no fancy things in those days. In 1986, we didn't have computers like we have them today or any of these facilities. But anyway, we managed, and we did teach some Vedic maths to them, and it was very enjoyable. What I've always noticed about it, it really makes your mind very elastic, very quick. Maths does that to you, but certainly this mental way of working, it gives your mind, it stretches your mind, it makes it very fast to respond to anything, really. So it's much bigger than just learning some mathematics. I find it very saddening to see children say, when I ask them, okay, what's 9 times 10? And they go for their calculator.
Yes.
You think, what are you doing? Put down your calculator, just think for a moment. Because the calculator might say 900 and they will write that down as an answer, You think, what are you doing? So please stop. So just, if we don't use our minds anymore, that's not good,
You are absolutely
It's such a wonderful instrument of mine. So if we really need to make best use of it. And yeah, Vedic
Rutger,
math is
yeah, Rutger, you're absolutely right. If you don't use it, you lose it.
you
It's a
lose
bit-
it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like a
And
muscle.
so all of this work that you've been doing for last 40, 45 years, we really salute you for that. And I know that the government in India has also appreciated your effort. And this year you've been awarded Padma Shri,
Yes.
and you have also received an ICCR award
Yes.
before that.
Yeah,
So how do you feel about that? You know, after such a long time, you've got some recognition.
I was very shocked. I felt I'm not so deserving. It's very nice that people do this, and it's good for Sanskrit to promote Sanskrit. So I can't turn my back to it, certainly. But like, I don't really want. It's not for my self glorification, obviously. It's for other people that we do this. So anyway, but it's a wonderful people feel more that they can trust what we're doing now because it has been recognized like this. So that is a good thing. So yeah, so I can see the positive side there, for example. And so as long as we don't go around with big egos, I think it'll be all right. Yeah.
Absolutely, I don't see any danger of that. The last question is, how do you see Sanskrit, future of Sanskrit in Ireland and beyond, and how can it help build, relationship between countries and build relationship between cultures using Sanskrit as a bridge?
Yes. So what I've always found about the philosophical traditions from India, they're there for the world.
Yes.
So a lot of, and they're also very welcoming, always open arms, to everybody else. And I've not found the same. There has been hostility from other traditions. And, unless you join my club, you go to hell and things like that. That's nothing like that ever in India. And also nobody ever says you have to convert, you have to become a Hindu. It's not like that at all. It is more a way of life. So, it's the inclusiveness of this tradition is amazing. So the world really needs that inclusiveness. They're not, there's nothing small about this. It's a universal plan for everybody on every level, emotionally and mentally also. So it just gives. I didn't understand my own tradition until I had started studying Vedanta. I now understand in a much deeper way what my own tradition is about. And I find that really interesting that, this includes the other traditions and it explains them. So often we don't really know, we are confused in our own traditions. And this gives you a very, a platform to understand them all equally. And, so it helps you and in a practical way so that I feel more confident now. A lot of good things have come out of this. I can stand in front of children and help them, in front of adults and help them with their lives, literally, how to lead healthy and good lives. And so if we can do that, and that is good for the prosperity and freedom of every human being then, well, then that's what this philosophy is about. Indian philosophies have this tendency to make it available to the whole universe. And that's really why I love them. So I won't get stuck in anything, anymore. I used to get very bogged down and get very confused until I met this huge philosophy. So it's not only a way of life, but it's a step-by-step approach to this. You can bit by bit, you begin to put together the puzzle. It's a whole big jigsaw of life. So I'm a philosophy teacher also in John Scottus School, and to the older students who are 17 and 18. And let's say I can discuss things with them confidently and give them new ideas, and they don't have to be so stuck in a little world. And the world that we live in really needs this, because there's a lot of anxiety, depression, self-harming, awful things going on in the right now. We're not short of money in the West, but we are short of, let's say, emotional positivity. It's almost you need to be trained in it.
Yes.
And these philosophies, and like Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, help you. They tell you, for example, about contentment.
Yes.
That this, even if the chips are down, you can be content. And wonderful ideas like that. And if students hear this, they can really apply it in their lives, and they won't have to go to all this negativity.
Yeah.
So I find this really forges the way ahead for a more, we are already a very global world now,
Yes.
because we have all this communication, but we are not very good at really connecting with other people yet, or with ourselves, because nobody has told us. So that's where we need a little bit of help. And I think these philosophies do it. Yeah.
Very good. No, I think that sums up it really nicely.
Yeah.
Sanskrit and the Indian philosophy seems to be the key
Yes.
to
Yeah.
solve the
Yeah.
jigsaw of life.
Yes. Yes.
That's a
Yeah.
good quote, and I'll remember that.
Yeah.
Rutger, I cannot thank you enough for coming on to Vishwarang, Ireland.
Yeah.
And we would love to have you on our physical programs maybe next year. When you have time, we'll love to welcome you and
Yes.
get these wonderful insights from you. So thank you so much. We wish you all the best in Sanskrit teaching, yoga teaching, and maybe, teaching the word of peace and harmony
Yes, indeed.
that Vedas have in them around the world. So I really, really thank you and salute you for the work you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
विश्वरंग के इस आयरलैंड संस्करण में हमने बहुत प्रतिभावान विद्वानों को और गणमान्य व्यक्तियों को सुना, देखा, और इसके लिए और इस कार्यक्रम में भाग लेने के लिए हम उनके हृदय से आभारी हैं। आयरलैंड और भारत की जो साझी विरासत है, जो प्राचीन संबंध हैं, यह और ज़्यादा प्रगाढ़ता की ओर बढ़ें। हमारे दोनों देशों के बीच में परस्पर रिश्ते और ज़्यादा मजबूत हों। इसी कामना के साथ मैं अभिषेक त्रिपाठी आप सबसे विदा लेता हूं और अगले वर्ष हम नए कार्यक्रम के साथ नई प्रतिभाओं को लेकर आपके समक्ष फिर से उपस्थित होंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।